Good afternoon, everybody from Nairobi. This will be posted tomorrow, but it's kind of, about some of the things that have happened in the past couple of days. But let me show you the room. I realized I did not give you a good view of the room before. That's the bed, and in there is the restroom, which I have an American modern restroom, including a bidet from Europe and a shower. But this is where I have to hold up in order to rest and recuperate from the missionary journeys. Anyway, this morning, God woke me up with the song, I will give you all, I will not withhold. Then after I had discussed this latest disaster, I went to my room and God reminded me of something else. Our language barriers with God exist simply because we are human. It takes a person committed to the cause of God and to prayer to tear down the language barrier. Just when you think you've torn down the last language barrier, guess what? You find another one that you need to tear down. And it's because of the way we were raised and what we were taught. We were taught things about God, and they give us predispositions to certain things about God. Why would I make a statement like that? Well, because you can be taught incorrectly about the things of God. I'm not saying that I was taught incorrectly. I was raised by a great woman of faith. If not for her faith, I wouldn't be able to walk in faith as I do. I wouldn't be able to do what I do because it requires a great load of faith. My mother lives what she believes. As mother and daughter, we typically don't agree on everything, but we are mother and daughter. My mother was in a car accident that was so bad that they planned her funeral over her hospital bed. The reason that she was in such bad shape was because she had reached out to save me. That was the days before car seats. She was thrown through the windshield, and her back was broken in many places. I've heard this story many times. She said that she told the insurance guy and my father that the only person that they were going to be burying was themselves, because not only was she going to live, she was going to walk out of that hospital because she still had 2 children to raise. And she was going to be the one to raise them. She was in the hospital for close to 9 months. They really didn't expect her to walk out of that hospital, but she did. She even prayed for people in the hospital, and they were healed miraculously. So she walked out of that hospital and is still walking today. Then God reminded me of Paul and Silas at midnight this morning, because I needed God to remind me of some things. Because in this disaster, I couldn't really see any good coming out of it. So Acts 16, verses 20 through 25, it says, And brought them to the magistrates, saying, These men, being Jews, do exceedingly trouble our city, and teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes, and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely, who, having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison and made their feet fast in the stocks. And at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. Let's look at the facts first. They were brought to court. They were accused of troubling the city. They were accused of teaching things unlawful because they were Romans. The crowd of people rose up or were angry with them. The magistrates themselves tore off their clothes. The magistrates commanded they be beaten. They were beaten or whipped with many stripes. Then they cast or threw them into prison. The jailer was given orders to keep them safely. After he was given this order, he took them into the inner prison, and that's when he put their feet in stocks or in a metal apparatus with chains connecting it to keep them from moving or escaping. At midnight they prayed. Then they sang praises to God. And then the prisoners heard them. Now I'm going to take great liberty with this scripture. I'm going to go into Paul and Silas's minds as they're going through this day. As I go through more with God, I see that a lot has been left out of the scriptures so that we can put ourselves there. You see, in my mind, I can see Paul and Silas probably got up that morning and had breakfast. They probably talked of the miracles that had happened and the great things that God had done and that he was going to do. Then they went to pray. Then they happened upon somebody who was demon-possessed, so they commanded the spirit to leave her, and it did. Then as the accusations, so the people who were making money off the lady that they prayed for got angry. Go figure. So they were brought before the magistrates. In my mind, I can see Paul and Silas standing there thinking, nothing's going to come of this. God won't let anything happen to us. We'll be fine. Then as the accusations are leveled at them, I can see Paul looking at Silas, thinking with his eyes, this is going south really fast. What I mean is this may not turn out the way we think it should. Then as the crowd starts to get angry, I can see Silas giving Paul a message with his eyes that's saying, we're in deep trouble. In my mind, I can see both of them standing there, closing their eyes and praying. If it had been me, I would have been saying, hello, hello, hey, hello, God. I could use a miracle right now. This is when our language barriers become evident. When things are going well, we don't realize we have language barriers with God. We just don't see it. When things aren't going well, we find out that we are not all we should be. As the magistrates ran to them and stripped their clothes from them, I can see Paul and Silas looking at each other in disbelief. Is this really happening to us? Are we not disciples of the Most High God? Then as they are beaten with each stripe of the whip, I believe they stepped into a more supernatural place with God because they were partaking in his suffering. As this was happening, language barriers that they had in their lives were being torn down as they began to walk a new road of trust with God. Once they were thrown into the prison, bloodied and beaten without clothes, I'd like to think that they looked at each other as blood dripped off, and they decided, instead of having a pity party, that they'd just trust God a little further. I'm sure both Paul and Silas thought that once they made this decision, that while the situation might not turn itself around, surely it wouldn't get any worse. Then the jailer came and took them deeper into the prison, putting metal bars around their feet so they couldn't move. In that jail cell, chained up like animals, is where Paul and Silas broke down more of their spiritual language barriers. It's there in the darkest hours of their worst tragedy so far they prayed. Then they started singing praises to God. The Bible doesn't call Paul and Silas prisoners. It says, and the prisoners heard them. We and our disasters can either choose to be Paul and Silas, breaking down spiritual language barriers between us and God, or we can be the prisoner of our situation, our disaster, or our crisis. It is our choice. What will you do today? What will I do today? Great miracles, great moves of God come at a great price. How badly do we want a move of God? Are we willing to suffer for a move of God? Are we willing to be beaten spiritually and or physically? Are we too accustomed to comfort to pay a price for the gospel? Think about it. The day is rapidly approaching where we will have to make decisions about how much we love God and the price that we're willing to pay. Are we willing to destroy the spiritual language barriers before that day arrives? I don't know about you, but I'm in the midnight hour. It's time for me to pray and sing some praises to God. It doesn't matter whether He rescues me or not. He's still God. I will trust Him and I will worship Him. What about you? Will you be the one who prays at midnight? Will you be the one who sings praises unto God? Or will you be the one who hears them praying because you have allowed your situation to make you a prisoner? And then this morning God gave me a poem called At Midnight. At midnight I could not see the way clear. Blood flowed from my soul like water from an overturned bucket. At midnight I could see angry faces accusing me of causing problems with everyone. At midnight, I could not see. The darkness was touchable and unbreakable. At midnight, I could see the whip as it came down on my back. The tears raced down my cheeks. At midnight, I could see the blood dripping off my face. I quit looking at reality and started looking at possibilities. At midnight, especially when I could see no rescue in sight, I started to pray the promises. At midnight, as my reality began to sink into my mind, I began to sing the promises. At midnight, I decided I was going to trust through worship and praise. I became a witness to those who were prisoners of their disaster. At midnight, what decisions have you made? Will you step into the church? Will you pray? At midnight, will you be a witness to the prisoners that a disaster is an opportunity for a miracle? God bless you all. I hope this helps someone. It's May the 26th. I fly home in 4 days. And in 4 days, I meet more disasters. But that's okay, because I've had my midnight, and I will pray and worship my God. God bless y'all. Bye.